On April 29, 2023, Kevin Darmody, 65, was fishing along the banks of the Kennedy River in Australia with friend John Peaty when he vanished. The two men were fishing at the riverbank 50 metres apart before John heard Kevin roar, followed by a huge splash. By the time John got to where Kevin was, there was no sign of his friend other than his thong sandals still on the bank. His remains were discovered earlier this month inside two crocodiles that had been euthanized after the horror incident. In 2015, Jennifer Karen from Calgary in Canada was on a snorkeling excursion in Mexico with her husband and several other tourists. They were travelling on an open 7-metre-long inflatable boat when a humpback whale started to come out of the water. As the captain tried to steer the boat away, the whale breached the water and its tail hit 3 passengers. Jennifer was knocked unconscious and thrown into the water. Staff dove in and pulled her out, and CPR was performed. Jennifer was taken to hospital where she sadly died of head trauma. In October 2021, 30-year-old Mohammed Kurban was walking within a central Delhi area when a group of monkeys on a rooftop hurled down 2 bricks that were covering a water tank. One of the bricks hit Mohammed in the head and he collapsed. He was taken to hospital where he unfortunately was pronounced dead. In 1913, Emily Wilding Davison died after being kicked at the base of her skull after accidentally being knocked down by a horse as she rushed onto the racecourse of Epsom Downs during the progress of a race for the Derby. In 1991, in Portland, Oregon, 2.5-month-old Vivian Betancourt was put to bed on Thursday night, and on Friday morning when the family awoke, they found her deceased. The baby had bled to death after she was repeatedly bitten by the family's pet ferret during the night. A police chief at the time said it was one of the most gruesome investigations they had ever had to work on. Ronald Huff, 44, had a love for reptiles, and in 2002 he had succumbed to a blood infection caused by a bite from one of his 6-foot-long Nile monitor lizards. Police had received a call to check on the welfare of Ronald. Once inside his home, they discovered his body slumped up against the door with the enormous lizards feasting on his corpse. The lizards had eaten into his face, his hands, and into his abdomen and eaten some of his internal organs. It was claimed Ronald was bitten a week or so before he died. He came down with a staph infection. As he kept his apartment at 80 degrees for the lizards, the closest place to cool down was apparently against the door where he expired and was then found. In November 2019, 2 monkey attacks claimed the lives of a 12-day-old baby and a 58-year-old woman in the city of Agra, India. During the first attack, monkeys broke into a woman's home while she was breastfeeding her child and snatched the baby from her. They bit the baby to death. In the second attack, an unnamed 58-year-old woman was bitten by monkeys as she went to relieve herself outside her home on the outskirts of the city and bled to death. In May 2020, an unnamed 80-year-old woman from Melbourne was scratched by her pet cat Minty. Later, the animal had licked the wounds. The woman was found unresponsive in bed by her family as the cat slept nearby. She fell into a coma in hospital and woke after 9 days and spent a day with loved ones by her side before sadly passing away. Doctors found the cat had given the woman bacterial meningitis, which is not treatable by regular antibiotics. In 2004, in Germany, Mark Vogel, 30, was apparently bitten by his favourite pet, a deadly black widow spider. When police found Mark in his apartment, there were more than 200 spiders, snakes, lizards, and a gecko called Helmet, and several thousand termites gorging on their dead master. Police stated that spiders were coming out of his nose and mouth, and larger pieces of flesh that had been torn off by the lizards were taken back to the webs of the tarantulas and other bird-eating spiders.